Hello, this is McD the Beast, and this is McD Sports 4 coming to you today with my college football top 25 for week 5 of the 2023 college football season. I cannot believe we're already a third of the way done. Before I continue, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate you do that. Really try to grow the channel. What a crazy week of college football. You had some crazy games like the Ohio State Notre Dame game. I gotta admit, I was wrong about that. I gotta give Ohio State credit, which I will in this video. Um, we had a bunch of crazy games. That Minnesota Northwestern game. If you did not see, you thought Minnesota they were up 31-10. You were like, oh, they got this. No, Northwestern came back, tied it up at 31, and Northwestern won in overtime in that game. That was a crazy game there. Um, you had some results that were just some crazy games overall. Clemson, Florida State was one. Um, I mean, it was such a crazy week of college football. You had a bunch of top 25 matchups. This upcoming week in week 5, you do have a few top 25 matchups, but nothing like this past week. So let's get into it. 1 through 25. We'll kick it off 1 through 5. Number 1 and number 2 didn't change. Michigan and Georgia. Michigan beat Rutgers. Georgia went ahead and beat UAB. These two teams' schedules started out weak. They're going to get stronger as the season goes. At Georgia, they have Florida. They get Auburn next week. They have Ole Miss on the schedule. Tennessee, Kentucky. So Georgia's going to play some teams. Michigan, same thing. They get Penn State and Ohio State on their schedule. So, but 1 and 2 did not change. Not going to really spend much time there. Penn State at number 3. I was impressed with Penn State. 31-0. You can tell me it's the Whiteouts, a big home field advantage. I thought that game was going to be a lot closer than a 31-point game. I did not expect Penn State to pitch a shutout in that game. Um, I was really impressed with Penn State. I moved them up one spot. Now, granted that they get Ohio State and Michigan, Penn State does, so they get two big time games. But very impressed with Penn State. I think they have deserved to be the number 3 team in the country. And I meant to say this at the beginning of the video. There's going to be some teams that moved down in the poll that didn't deserve to. Necessarily, it's just how the resumes and the results went. So a few teams I'm going to sit that I have moved down don't really deserve to be moved down. It's just how the resume lays out. Number 4, Ohio State. I moved Ohio State up 3 spots. They're number 4. Um, I mean, yeah, they won at the buzzer against Notre Dame. I mean, what a game! Defensive matchup. Ohio State 30-19 gets the first down because I thought I was going to be coming on here and ripping Ryan Day on that 4th-and-1 play call with about 3 minutes left on the end around. That didn't work, but Ohio State did revenge themselves. They did what they should have done uh, all game long on short yards. Just run the ball up the middle and see what happens. And they were able to punch in for the touchdown there at the buzzer. Ohio State number 4. I moved them up 3 spots. I'm not absolutely sold that this Ohio State offense. Actually, I don't think this Ohio State offense is the same it was the previous few years. I definitely think a quarterback. No offense to Colin McCord, but I definitely think they've taken a step back there. But they're going to be in all these games at a minimum. They're going to be able to compete and possibly win against Penn State and Michigan. So number 4, Ohio State. Number 5, Washington. I'm moving them down 2 spots. Washington does not deserve to be moved down 2 spots. Just saying. But Penn State and Ohio State, I think their resumes are better. Washington did exactly what they were supposed to do against Cal, win and cover. 59-32 was the final. I mean, Washington, we'll see if they're the best team in the Pac-12. I personally think Oregon is. I'll come out and say that right now. But those two teams are going to face each other, so we'll see what happens. So, number 5, Washington. I mean, it's nice to see that the Pac-12 has a realistic shot at the college football playoffs. Number 6, Florida State. Once again, Florida State, they moved down 1 spot. They did not deserve to move down. I give Florida State a lot of credit for winning that game against Clemson. A lot of people in the preseason said that Florida State could start the season 2-2. A lot of people were actually going with that. Um, I knew Clemson was going to give Florida State their best shot, which they did, but Florida State prevailed in overtime 31-24. It was a great game. As I said, they do not deserve to be moved down, Florida State, but with how the resumes are and everything and how the results are, I did have to move them down one spot. But I mean, they're gonna be favored in every game for the rest of the season. The only game that might even be tricky for them, the only two might be Louisville and Miami. Um, so Florida State, I mean, I can't say enough about what Mike Norvell has done there to uh, change the program around from where they were when he got there. I'm really impressed with Florida State, and I wasn't buying into Mike Norvell early either. So congrats to Mike Norvell for proving me wrong. Number 7, Oregon. Once again, Oregon, a team that did not deserve to get moved down, but they did one spot because of the resume. I told you. I said that Colorado was going to be ran out the building, and they were. 42-6 was the final score. Oregon, it was 35-0 at halftime. Outside Bo Nix throwing that interception, which was on Bo Nix, that was a bad interception there. Oregon basically could have done whatever they wanted against Colorado. Colorado had no answers for Oregon whatsoever. As I said, I think Oregon is the best team in the Pac-12. As I said, they moved down one spot kind of because of how things played out this week, but Oregon's a team that could easily make the college football playoffs, in my opinion. Number 7, Oregon. Number 8, Utah. I moved Utah up one spot. What can I say about Utah? Just no Cam Rising and just finding ways to win games. They beat UCLA, a team that a lot of people had in their top 25. I personally didn't, but a lot of people had in their top 25. 14-7 in a defensive battle. Um, I don't know if Utah can be a serious Pac-12 contender with Cam Rising out. Hopefully, he comes back soon. It sounds like he's really close, actually, because there was rumors he might have given it a go this week. But number 8, Utah, I moved them up one spot. Really impressed with them. Number 9, Texas, moved Texas up one spot. Blew out Baylor on the road. I thought this could have been a bit of a game that could have been kind of messy for Texas. But I was wrong. Texas absolutely took care of business. They look like the best team in the Big 12, Texas. I was wrong about Texas this year. I gotta admit it. Um, Moved Texas up one spot to number 9. They get Oklahoma in 2 weeks. That should be a fun game. So number 9, Texas. Number 10, Southern Cal moved them up one spot. Didn't cover against Arizona State, even though 34.5 is a lot to cover. But they did win 42-28. I didn't really watch this game. I got tired after the Notre Dame game, but um, I gotta say, Southern Cal. I don't know if they could beat Oregon and Washington. I just don't. Especially Oregon. I would definitely favor Oregon over them. You look at Southern Cal. Um, they're a top 10 team. I mean, after this week, from what I've seen, they are a top 10 team. Number 10, Southern Cal. Plus, I moved them up one spot. They still get UCLA, Utah. I believe they get Washington. They don't get Oregon on the schedule. I believe. I want to say they get Oregon State on the schedule or Washington State, one of those two. So Southern Cal, they're gonna have to work cut out to get Notre Dame as well. So Southern Cal, number 10. Number 11, Notre Dame. I moved it down 3 spots. Now, some people I think are going to punch Notre Dame a little more than I am, and I get that. But you gotta think if they if they stuff them on that final play, Notre Dame, what they're having a completely different conversation. Am I pissed that Notre Dame lost that game? Yes, primarily because I had a bet on Notre Dame. Nothing crazy, just $10. But I would like to win bets. I moved Notre Dame down 3 spots. I mean, I look at the schedule. They get Duke next week. I'm telling you right now, Duke could easily win that game. They get Southern Cal, I just mentioned. So Notre Dame, they're gonna definitely have some other shots. They get Clemson as well. They're gonna have some games coming down the pipe that are going to be potential top 25 games. So I don't think Notre Dame's season's over. They can still win out and make the college football playoffs. But I gotta admit, I was pretty disappointed in Notre Dame. I thought they were gonna win this game, and I actually thought that they were gonna win it maybe a bit easier as well. But number 11 Notre Dame, I moved them down 3 spots. Number 12 Kentucky, I moved them up 4 spots. I don't think Kentucky necessarily deserves to be moved up 4 spots per se, but the way the week worked out, they did kind of by default. But hey, they won 45-28 against Vanderbilt. And you can say, oh, it's Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, I do think, is a little bit better than what they've been in previous years. Kentucky, they still get the SEC East gauntlet. I believe they get Florida this week. Florida's in the AP top 25. They get Georgia still. They go ahead and get Alabama out of the West. Um, so Kentucky's gonna have some games this year. We'll see what happens in those games, but I'm high on Kentucky. I'm still high on Kentucky. They've done nothing to make me think that anything's gonna go bad. Number 12, Kentucky. Number 13, Alabama. I do think I overreacted a little bit of Alabama last week, dropping them all the way down to 18. Got a big win against Ole Miss. I give them a lot of credit. I thought Ole Miss was going to win that game. Alabama. Jalen Monroe threw his best ball of the season this game, in my opinion, when he got hit as he was throwing for like a 50-yard touchdown. I moved Alabama up 5 spots. Do I think Alabama is going to make the college football playoffs or anything? No. Do I think that they could at least make it to the SEC championship game? Possibly. They still get LSU. They still get Kentucky out of the East. Auburn. I mean, not Auburn. Tennessee out of the East. They get Auburn as well. Texas A&M. So they're gonna have some games. Arkansas. I like what I saw from Arkansas yesterday, but they're gonna get some games. We'll see what happens in those. But Alabama +5, moving them up to number 13. LSU at number 14. I didn't move them at all. I think some of that game had to do with it was a rivalry game. Um, some of it had to do with LSU. I think was a bit overhyped coming into the season. LSU. Do I think they're a top 25 team? Yes. Do I think they're a college football playoff contender? No. So LSU, they did get the win against Arkansas. So I do think some of that also has to do with good Arkansas. I thought Arkansas played well yesterday, despite losing. So number 14 LSU, and they're still going to get Alabama. They're still going to get Texas A&M. They're still going to get Florida. I forget who else they get out. Who else do they get out of the East? I forget. But they're going to get I think it might be Missouri, who's 4-0. They're gonna get some games this year, so we'll see what happens in those games. But number 14 LSU, number 15 North Carolina, moved North Carolina up 2 spots. Really impressed with their win on the road against Pitt. I thought they should have been an upsetter, and that game was back and forth early. But North Carolina pulled away. I will admit to you, App State losing to Wyoming kind of hurt their resume a little bit, in my opinion. But North Carolina, I mean, we'll see what happens with them. They move up 2 spots. North Carolina does to number 15, undefeated. They're on the right track. Number 15, North Carolina. 16 through 20, number 16, Duke. I gotta say, I am really impressed with Duke this year. I mean, they are hitting on all cylinders. They get a big game this week against Notre Dame. We'll see what happens in that one, but Duke is a team that could be a dark horse to make the ACC championship game, a dark horse to make a New Year's Six bowl. I am really impressed. Mike Elko will be, he will be someone that will be a hot name for bigger jobs. And here's the thing, I don't think there's really any bigger jobs out there. You can tell me Michigan State. I think there's an argument for him to stay at Duke, honestly, over going to Michigan State. Maybe Texas A&M if Jimbo Fisher gets fired this year. Okay, maybe that job, but or maybe Alabama if Saban retires. Maybe that job, but I'm really impressed with Duke this year. I gotta say, I knew they were going to be decent this year. I knew that wasn't a fluke last year. And I said they were going to win that game week 1 against Clemson, and I was right about that. But I gotta say, I'm impressed with what I've seen from Duke this year. Number 17, Oregon State, moving down 5 spots. I'm gonna give Oregon State. I moved them down 5 spots. I could have moved them down more. I just think Washington State is just a tough place to play, and I think and it was 38-35 was the final. They kind of had to fight back in that game to get it to that score. Um, they lost a top 25 team, a team that a lot of people had in the top 25. I had them up at 26. They were the first team out in my top 25. It didn't surprise me that Oregon State went ahead and lost that game. I do think on a neutral field, Oregon State will win that game though. So, um, basically, I think Oregon State's going to be fine. I mean, can they compete against the big boys in the Pac-12? That's where we're going to be the question for them. They get Oregon, they get Washington. I know they get those two. They get Utah this upcoming Friday. So that should be an interesting game. If they lose that game, they might be out of the top 25 when it's all said and done. But Oregon State, number 17, moved them down 5 spots. Number 18, Oklahoma. They won, but they didn't cover. I was right about that pick against Cincinnati, 20-6. 14.5 was the spread. You look at Oklahoma. They look like the second best team in the Big 12. Uh, Move them up 3 spots to number 18. I don't know if they could beat Texas. They could lose another game when it's all said and done. The schedule does work out a lot for Oklahoma, in my opinion. Um, but they defensively is a complete 180. They look like a much better team than last year. I moved Oklahoma up 3 spots to number 18. Number 19, Ole Miss. Moved them down 4 spots. There's no shame on going on the road and losing to Nick Saban at the end of the day, getting a little tongue tied there. But I mean, I was a little bit surprised that they were only able to pick up 10 points. I was a little bit surprised with how that game went there. But I still think Ole Miss is a top 25 team, and they're going to face a bunch of teams in the SEC. They get Georgia out of the East. They still go ahead against Texas A&M. They get LSU this week. Arkansas. They're going to get their shots, Ole Miss, this year. So we'll see what happens. I still think this team overall is pretty good. Number 19, Ole Miss. Number 20, Kansas State. Very impressive win against UCF. They won and covered like I thought they would. 44-31 was the final there. Kansas State, I mean, I didn't move them at all, and it's not so much their fault that I didn't move Kansas State. Um, in my opinion, I just look at Kansas State. I think they're a top 20-ish team. That's basically what it comes down to for me. Um, yeah, I mean, Kansas State, in my opinion, um, they have that loss to Missouri. Missouri is 4-0, but overall, I look at Kansas State. They lost. Their one loss is on a 61-yard field goal. So, and they're going to be doing great in the Big 12. They're still my pick to win the Big 12. Despite Texas is going to be an issue for Kansas State. I mean, we'll see what happens. But number 20, Kansas State. Now 21 through 25. Number 21, Miami. I moved them up a spot. They beat Temple. Good win against Temple. Their win against Texas A&M looks a lot better since A&M went ahead and beat Auburn pretty convincingly. We'll see what Miami does. They get North Carolina. They go ahead and get Clemson, and they go ahead and get Florida State. So those are 3 games that 2 of them are probably going to be top 25 games. The other one maybe. We'll see what happens. Number 21 Miami moved them up a spot, and then number 22 Iowa moved them down 9 spots. I gotta admit, I was pretty disappointed in Iowa in that game. I thought that game was going to be an ugly game, but I thought Penn State was going to win the game. But I thought Iowa would cover that 14.5 point spread. I thought that was free money, honestly. They couldn't even score a point. 31-0 loss. I mean, I dropped them 9 spots. Maybe that's a little bit of an overreaction, but Iowa, number 22. I did not like what I saw from Iowa at all. I thought the defense hung in there as much as they could, but number 22, Iowa. And then there's three new teams, so we'll get right into it here. Number 23, Washington State. Welcome to the top 25. They were in the top 25 last week in the AP one. They were number 26 on my poll. I put them right there in number 23. I mean, when they beat Oregon State, I knew they were going to be in the poll. I didn't know how high I was going to get Washington State in, but number 23, Washington State. I mean, my issue with Washington State is I don't know if they could beat the teams on the road. That's basically my issue with them. Um, because they're two big wins, Wisconsin and Oregon State were both in Pullman. Let's see if they can do on the road, but they're undefeated. You got them in the top 25 in my opinion. Number 23, Washington State. Number 24, Louisville. Louisville is 4-0, including wins against Georgia Tech. They went ahead. They went ahead and beat Indiana. I know Indiana's terrible. They had another big win this week against a Power Five team, which is escaping my mind. I forgot who they beat this week. Who they beat in the ACC? I'm forgetting, but overall, I gotta say, oh yeah, they beat Boston College. They blew out Boston College. Is it bad teams? Yes, but they're getting the job done. Louisville, the schedule works out for them. I don't know how they're gonna compete against the quote unquote big boys, but 4-0 got. I mean, being Power Five teams. Number 24 Louisville and number 25. I really debated long over this. I decided to be kind of pay a group of 5 team in. Number 25 Fresno State, I gotta admit, I do not like the 34-31 win over Eastern Washington. That was the thing kind of holding me back on Fresno State. But they beat 2 Power 5 teams and Purdue and Arizona State, especially the Arizona State win there, 29-0. And they beat, I think, they beat somebody in their conference, I believe. I think UNLV or somebody like that. But Fresno State, number 25, they look like the best team in the Mountain West, even though I do think Air Force and Wyoming will have something to say about that, and San Diego State as well. Um, Number 25, Fresno State. Welcome to the top 25. We'll see how it goes, but that's the top 25. All right, teams I dropped out. Number 23, BYU. You lost to Kansas. No shame in that. No shame in that. Road lost to Kansas. Did cover, by the way. Um, but number 23, BYU. Number 24, Colorado. Number 24, Colorado. I told you. I told you this team were frauds. I told you I wasn't ranking this team really above 20 for a reason. Um, and they proved it to me. They absolutely proved it to me. Colorado had no answers outside of a bad interception by Bo Nix on stopping the Oregon offense in that first half. No answers. Um, I mean, they're going to lose to Southern Cal this week. I'm just going to come out and say right now that they're losing Southern Cal. And looking at the schedule, 6-7 wins looks like the height of the season. Colorado has a few great players, in my opinion, but they have nobody on the lines of scrimmage, and they can't really compete against the big boys. So, number 24, Colorado. Number 25, Clemson. You're number 25 and you lost. Now, granted, I don't think it's a bad loss or anything. I mean, you took a top 5 team to overtime, number 6 now in the McD Sports 4 top 25, but you took a top 10 team to overtime and lost, and I do think Clemson will be back in the top 25 at some point, but you're 2-2. Gotta drop you in number 25. Teams I consider Kansas. Kansas will be number 26 if this was the top 26. I was debating between Fresno State and Kansas. That's very what number 25 came down to. Um, I decided to be kind and go with the group of 5 team. I thought both resumes pretty much even. But Kansas, very impressive win against BYU. I did pick BYU. I did have money on BYU to win that game. I'm still high on BYU, but Kansas undefeated 4-0. Um, Very impressed with them. A team I forgot to mention is Missouri. They're 4-0 as well. They have wins against Memphis and Kansas State, so they do have quality wins. But I can't buy into Missouri. That's what it comes down to. Um, if they continue winning, they will be in this pool though. Missouri, trust me when I tell you that. So forgot to mention them. Syracuse is 4-0. They beat Army 29-16. They haven't really faced anybody big, and I'll admit the next 3 weeks for Syracuse could be a 3-game losing streak. So this could be only a 1 week thing for Syracuse for them being teams I considered. But give them a shout out. Any Power 5 team that's 4-0, you gotta give them a shout out. And then Maryland, yeah, you could call me a homer for doing this. I'm actually a Maryland Terps fan. But they're 4-0. I mean, they beat two Power 5 teams. You can tell me those Power 5 teams suck, which they do. They beat Charlotte, who, by the way, I'm going to say this about Charlotte. They were projected to be last in the American. They're not going to finish last in the American. Charlotte. There's no way they're going to be projected to be last. The way they're playing, they play Maryland tough. They play Florida tough this week. Florida's a team that's going to be in the AP top 25. I'm not buying into Florida one bit. But overall, that Maryland 4-0. You gotta give them a shout out being undefeated as a Power 5 team. And Liberty, I'm gonna be honest. Liberty could be 9-0 and not be in my top 25. The resume is just way too weak. It looks like for Liberty. If you look at their schedule, the way things are gonna play out. So for 4-0, they're gonna be a team that's gonna be looked at probably every week because as I said, they're probably going to finish 11-1, 12-0. So keep an eye out for them. Air Force, they're 4-0. I just like Fresno State's resume better. That's basically what it came down to. I also want to give a shout out to Wyoming. I'm telling you, Wyoming, they're 3-1. Their one loss is to Texas, and they covered in that game. Wyoming is a team that could easily win the Mountain West. I know they're 3-1. No one's keeping an eye out on them, but Wyoming is a team you gotta be keeping an eye on. I'm telling you, they're good. They beat Appalachian State this past week. They're good. Um, I'm trying to think. Did I miss anybody else? Oh yeah, there are some Sun Belt teams. I think Georgia State kind of surprising the Sun Belt. JMU, James Madison. There's another one in there as well. That are 4-0 in the Sun Belt. I consider them as well. The resumes are just not strong enough. But yeah, Georgia State. I'm telling you right now, Georgia State. They are the surprise in the Sun Belt this year. So keep an eye out on them. But those are the teams I consider. That's the top 25. Comment down below. Tell me if you think I missed a team. Tell me if you disagree with my top 25. I always like hearing from you all. Thanks for watching the video. Hit the thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. Greatly appreciate if you do that. McD the Beast signing off.